I'm also recording this meeting in case somebody wants to watch it again. Okay. Okay. All right, here we go. So welcome. We already did that. We're going to do a little Zoom housekeeping. And most of you all know in the lower left corner, there's a mute button. You want to talk, you can turn it on, but it's a good idea to mute it. I mess this up all the time, so y'all can remind me if I do that again. Participants tell us how many people are in the room. If you want to be seen, you can click this start video button. The image on our screen has a little line across it. If you want to show your image, you just click that button in the lower left. And then if we get around to sharing screen like I'm doing now, that there's an opportunity to share your screen and let other people look at it. So, and then more Zoom housekeeping. We talked about this already. You guys will probably get tired of hearing about the chat box. You click on the quote box and put your mouse at the bottom middle of your Zoom screen and you'll see a little quote box. You can click on that and it'll open a chat. People should be trying to talk with you right now from our registration team to check you in and make sure we have you on our list, so that after this meeting, we can turn in a full list with accurate contact information and affirmative action information to the state party. There's also a reaction button. It's about 2/3 of the way, a third of the way from the right of your screen. It has these features on it. Clapping, you may not be doing much of that tonight for me. Thumbs up if you're feeling sorry for me. Laugh until you cry if that's necessary. We've already done that tonight. And a look of alarm, that's my emoji for tonight. Heart and celebration. So some of you will also have a second and third row or some additional reactions on other parts of your screen. And as part of our PowerPoint, we see a checkbox, which can mean yes, an X or a red circle with an X. The two arrows to the left, it's shown as gray on our screen, means slow down. Two arrows that's shown on the blue dot to the right means speed up. And there's a raise hand button for a question. Again, based on some of the choices you may have made in setting up your Zoom, you may not see the second and third row, or they may look different. We've learned from experience. And below, right below at the bottom of the PowerPoint, breakout rooms are a location where we can split people off from the main room, what we think of as the lobby or the place where we're meeting tonight, where you all are. Later, we'll explain that, but it's a place if you need to have elections in your precincts where you can go and have those elections. So, all righty. Any questions at this point? You can turn yourself on and ask if you have any questions about what's going on so far. Okay. Are people getting checked in? You talking to our credentials people who are asking, double checking your information? If you want to answer, you can go up to the upper left corner. There'll be a little blue box, and you can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question or say something. Okay. I'm supposed to stall for time, and as many of you know, usually I'm used to talking. So I'm going to stop the share for a minute. And we've got 22 participants in the room. That's super awesome. I'm glad to see that. And everybody's got their chat open. Click put their cursor at the bottom, clicked on the chat box. So there's some stuff in the chat box already. The first thing is information about Molly Uten, who's the candidate for Senate District 22. She's going to join us later this evening and speak to us for a few minutes. She's running in for the vacant seat that when Stephanie Bice was elected to Congress. So we have an opportunity to elect a Democrat to the seat. And things are going pretty well so far. But as you know, if you're in Canadian County, we have a lot of Republican voters out here. We're walking for Molly on Saturday and Sunday, and I'll put more information up for that about that. The Senate District 22 includes Yukon, Central Yukon, Piedmont, Calumet, Gary, South Okarche, and West Edmond. And there's a link there if you would like to go find out if you live in Senate District 22 and can vote for Molly Uten. Hang on just a second. I've got to check on something, so I'll be right back.
Jody, I have a question.
Okay.
First, I guess I came in a minute late because I don't see the information in the chat that you're talking about.
Okay. So do you see anything in the chat at all?
Yeah, I see that the registration link from Chantel
Uh-huh.
and the message from Kevin.
I'll just put it in again. I've had some experience with this. Some of our Canadian County meetings, I put all kinds of great stuff in the chat before the meeting started. And then when the meeting started, you couldn't see it. So I guess it's
I can see it now. I
just put it in again. So
okay, thank you.
I'm glad you told me that. We're learning about this every day. So let's see. Let me go see if I don't have some other fun and juicy information. Okay, what's going on with Molly Uten, you ask? How are we helping her win? Well, I put some more information in the chat about that. The election is on April the 6th. April the 3rd at 2 p.m. is Canadian County's county meeting, when we'll elect our county officers, affirmative action officers, and delegates to the district and state convention. So we're not walking for Molly on that Saturday, but in the chat, as you can see, you go over there and look, we need people to drive and people to leave campaign information, door hangers for Molly. And we're working in the Yukon area. I've worked my own neighborhood, and we're meeting at 9:45 on Saturday and at noon on Sunday. Not most people, some people come both days because they're gung-ho. I come both days because you guys are coming to my house at 426 Poplar Avenue in 5th. And basically we give you, we load a little software application on your phone. If those of you who have walked and used paper, I really recommend this. It makes sure you don't miss doors and have to backtrack. And we have someone here to load that on the phone and show you. It's really easy to use. The Democrats have a database system called VAN, Voter Activation Network. And this is Minivan, MINI, a system that makes it really easy to knock the doors and travel most efficiently in the neighborhood. And the areas that we knock, we call them turfs or lists, only have about 30 houses on it. So you can do that in an hour and a half, pretty easy. So if you think that's fascinating information, oh, I want to keep that, and call up Jody Harlan and show up and be part of a Democratic win in Canadian County, you can just you can drag that, copy it, and paste it into your word processing program or anywhere that you want to. You can capture that information that's in the chat box. So any rate, we'd love to have you come out. Some of us have been part of a Democratic recent win in Canadian County with Michael Brooks Jimenez, who is a senator. In the last election, Republicans couldn't even find someone to run against Michael. So I'll never forget being at his watch party and having that win and sitting there and reflecting upon how nice it is to be a part of that in a small way. So, all right, I'm gonna go back to my PowerPoint. Any other questions? Anybody got any questions or? Okay, what we're doing right now is stalling for time as the credentials committee checks everybody in. That's very much like a real meeting when there's a backup in the line and we have 4 or 5 people with laptops looking up people's precinct numbers. Because you pre-registered, you did a lot of that work for us. So now we're just learning the process of doing this online. So I'm going to share my screen again. And we went over Zoom housekeeping. That's familiar to a lot of people. Now I've prepared a 20-page speech, but I've been advised that you might not want to hear that. So I'll just hold it till later. And if I'm asked to make a long speech by popular demand, I will. But I'm going to give Dennis Purifoy a heads up. He is our rules chair for the Canadian County Democrats and our vice chair, our current vice chair. So Dennis, I'm getting ready to put up your rules committee slides. So unmute yourself and tell us what rules we are to live by in tonight's meeting.
All right. Tonight we're going to be electing a chair, vice chair, and secretary for every precinct that's represented tonight. These precinct officers attend and can vote at the county convention. Another way to say that is if you're not a precinct officer, you can still attend the county convention, but you can't vote. The chair and vice chair must be different genders. So if you start off and you elect a chair that's female, then the vice chair has to be male, for example. A person does not have to be present to be elected, but at least one person from the precinct has to be present on this meeting tonight. And that person then has to assume the position of chair. And as chair, that person can fill vice chair and secretary vacancies, and they cannot be filled later. So in other words, if you're thinking, well, tonight I'll just be the chair, and then later on I'll appoint a vice chair and a secretary, that is specifically prohibited by the bylaws. So those are the rules. That's really all that amounts to. And again, if you go to the county convention, then you can be a candidate for chair and vice chair and so forth, and go on to be elected to be a delegate to the districts for congressional offices. We're in Canadian County, we're in CD3 and CD4 both, and then go on to the state convention. So that's basically it.
Well, that is awesome, Dennis. Now I have a question. I think everything you said, of course, is absolutely correct. Now, one of the roles tonight is to get the voting delegates for the county convention, but after the county convention, then we can add new precinct officers, right? You know, after the voting period. You may be muted, Dennis.
Yes, it's just the period of time between the precinct meetings, which is tonight, and the county convention on April 3rd, that new precinct officers cannot be appointed.
That's awesome. Any questions for Dennis? I think that was very clear. And I'll leave the rules up for another couple minutes and let everybody look at them. These are rules in the Democratic Party's constitution and bylaws. And so I'm glad you're here tonight because you're the decision makers on who our leaders will be. And we have 18 delegates to go to the district and state convention, which gives us Oklahoma County, Tulsa County obviously have many more, but we're one of the larger counties after those counties. And 3 or 5 of our delegates will be county officers, chair, vice chair, secretary, affirmative action male, affirmative action female. So that leaves 13 people to be elected at the April 3rd county convention. So, and just like it's kind of hard to deal with a shifting registration for our meeting tonight, I believe this is the reason for these rules where they lock down who the voting delegates are, so that for the county convention, I think that's why they do it. So thanks so much, Dennis, for pulling that together for us. Now, let's see. The preview of the precinct rolls. These are not cinnamon rolls, and they're also not terribly difficult. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm just going to go over a couple of things that Democrats do in general, members of the party, and then things that the chair, vice chair, and secretary can do in their precinct. For everybody, I like to think part of what we want to do is have fun. We've been a little isolated for the past year, but that keeps me coming back to the Democrat meetings. So I've got that first. We want to register Democrats. That's more fun, and love to do that. We want to elect Democrats. That is my favorite thing. We want to build the Democratic Party. We want to raise funds because that helps us do the other things. And then we want to repeat. That's all of us. Whether you decide to run for a precinct office tonight, whether you're a member of the credentials team, whether you have high aspirations in the party, whether you've already done those things and you don't want to do them again, I hope we can all do those things. Now, precincts are neighborhoods, essentially 1 mile in diameter. And we have people tonight that are participating in the meeting that have already done things in their precincts by default, that good chairs do. Back in the old days, Democratic Party precincts had regular meetings and they took minutes and they had barbecues and they got jobs for people. And, it was quite a demanding job. And for us, there are some things that we hope the precinct officers will do. But in your role, in any of these roles, you can be as active as you want to be. Your most important thing is that you're a voter and you're a point of contact in your neighborhood. If you have events or meetings, you can lead those meetings as the chair of your precinct. We want you to know your precinct boundaries. And after the election tonight, I have good maps from the University of Oklahoma that'll show you what the streets are around your neighborhood, around your precinct. And I'll email those maps to you. We want you to know where your polling location is. And when the opportunity comes up, we'd like for you to help with voter registration, explaining how absentee ballots work. And if you've got a candidate running, like in my precinct 208, I can help Molly Uten. I can vote for her. I can tell other people about her. And I don't have to even leave my house or take time off work or buy refreshments. It's just something I can't stop doing because of the other things we talked about. I want Democrats to win. Now, vice chairs essentially support the chair, like in most organizations. If there's an event or a meeting, the chair's absent, the vice chair can step in. They can help the chair with any of the activities they do in the neighborhood. The secretary's traditional role, take minutes if you have something that needs to be recorded, votes if you're voting on something in your neighborhood. And as part of our process, a little bit later tonight, we'll hear from Mike Fuller about resolutions that are forwarded from the precinct to the county, to the district, and to the state. That's our grassroots way of changing things if we think they need to be changed, if we can get our ideas formulated. And I used to tell precinct chairs, don't worry, you don't have to do anything, because people are afraid to make a commitment and not be able to keep up. Actually, we want you to do as much as you feel like you can. And to give you an example, I think of someone who hasn't even been elected a precinct officer from my precinct, Brandy Becerra. She's one of the people tonight that's checking folks in on the credentials or registration team. Some of you, especially from Canadian County, may have seen the 10-foot tall Donald Trump blow up that Brandy had. And I'll make the story short. Brandy began to have neighborhood meetings with people who wanted to come at her house on Thursdays. It just so happened to be when the Drive for 45 trucks would come rolling down the street where she lives, spewing toxic diesel fuel and running up over the curb and swearing at her. And that annoyed her, and it certainly annoyed me. So she began to have these parties where she showed that there was some people with another view. After that, the election was over and people stopped, quite so many, as many as 70 trucks stopped driving down Garth Brooks and rolling stop signs and speeding and surrounding cars and stuff like that. Brandy put up white flags in her yard to represent every Oklahoman who died of COVID-19. And that went on for another period of time. She didn't do these things because she was a precinct officer. She did these things because she was a Democrat, and she'd been abused, frankly, by people who felt like their view is more important than her view. So just naturally, she did some things that in our neighborhood, because we're in the same precinct, that got my attention. I went over there, got my husband's attention. He went over there. Some of y'all did as well. And she was a great host. Large screen TV, beer, signs, and we had a lot of fun doing that, actually. And the behavior of those people really improved a lot in the Drive for 45 group when we started to videotape and post them on social media. So I'm not saying you have to do that or anything like that. I'm just saying that was a natural activity that happened in a precinct in Canadian County. So any questions about the roles of precinct officers? Brent, I know you've been an activist for a lot of years. You want to weigh in, and do you have any advice for precinct officers?
Am I unmuted now? You've covered really just about everything. The only thing I would say that can you hear me? Okay. That neighbor to neighbor, just talking to your neighbors, to your friends, to your family, your endorsement of a candidate is far more important than newspapers or a former football coach or a country music singers. Your personal endorsement of somebody that knows you is going to do more for that candidate than any of those other endorsements. So just talk to the people you know, talk to your neighbors, and let them know where you stand. And I know it's hard in Oklahoma sometimes for Democrats to express how we feel with where we live and who we live with, and it seems to be getting harder. But we can't be quiet. We've got to let people know who we support and why we support them, and how they can make our lives better and their lives better. Jody, I think you're muted.
I was just given a big buildup. I said, thank you, Brent, very much for that. And I also see we have another distinguished new member of the Canadian County Democrats, the Honorable retired State Representative Mike Shelton. Mike, do you have any thoughts about why precinct officers are important, or anything you want to add to this discussion?
Can you hear me, Miss Jody? Can everybody hear me?
I sure can.
All righty. Well, first of all, thank you so much for opening your door to me. I am a I'm new to the area, and I came from Northeast Oklahoma City. So coming from District 97 and moving out here to the Yukon area, And watching the drives for 45 has been quite shocking, to say the least, coming from District 97. So somebody had a Trump flag about 2 doors down from me. Do you know what would happen to that person if they put that flag up in Northeast Oklahoma City? It wouldn't be nice, but it's just new to me. But I didn't move over to this area not to be engaged, not to be involved. What you all do is what we're supposed to do is to get engaged and help to ensure our voices are heard. Now, I could talk all day, but I can tell you this: I would not have won if it was not for Brent Wilcox, because he was 100% behind me. I would not have won had it not been for, I don't know who Kevin O'Connor is, but dang sure Tim O'Connor. Those two gentlemen have forgotten more about politics than I will ever know. And Jody, the work that you've done, it can never be repaid for all. You can never be paid for all the work that you've done, but I'm grateful that you do it. But it's you all that it's so important that you all get engaged and help our voices be heard. Even though we may live in red areas, I'm still working with the y'all and they, and now I'm part of us. And so just let me work on that a little bit. But I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, we're excited about that too. And while we're moving around, we're doing really good. The credentials team gave me a good report. I also want to move to another distinguished guest, an other honorable retired administrator, Democratic County Chair, and Canadian County Vice Chair, which was the most important thing to me, Mark Hammonds. So Mark, you have any thoughts, any encouragement for people here tonight who are willing to be precinct officers?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. Well, the main thing is to remember that elections are won at the grassroots level. So individual efforts by a large group of people do more than campaign ads. That's why knocking on doors is so important. That's why gatherings at individual homes are so important to be successful. So the precinct officers are really the foundation of not only the Democratic Party, but of any successful election campaign. So getting people involved, getting them committed to any level of activity and support is the key thing to being successful in politics and in winning elections. I hope everybody will take that to heart and think of some project, something they can do in their neighborhood to reach out to their neighbors and get them motivated. And that's
I
it.
hope
I'm
that
not
too.
gonna take a long time.
That is so awesome. Now, and I also want to call on Tim O'Connor. His name was mentioned tonight. He is the state secretary of the Oklahoma Democratic Party and former chair, a guy that someone else convinced me at precinct elections, if I showed up, I could be elected. And this is the guy who met me there and made it easy for me to learn the ropes. And I still go to him for advice. So Tim O'Connor, what do you got to say to people who may not have been a precinct officer before?
Well, all the grassroots stuff that people have talked about are important, and I wouldn't take away anything from that's been said up to this point. But when it comes to our internal business at county levels or district levels or state levels, these conventions that most people are wanting to be elected to are important, and this is where it starts. If you like what's going on and you want to keep supporting the officers that have got us to that point, you need to be elected to be able to vote for them. If you want change, you have to be elected as a delegate to one of those conventions to have a voice and a vote. I've been happy to serve as secretary at the state for, gosh, has it been 2 years? Doesn't seem that long, but I guess it has been. But one of the things I learned, and that's kind of how I helped recruit Jody to be county chair, is that I always get in this habit of overreaching and putting on too many hats for the things that are going on. So I've chosen not to rerun again for state secretary. So hopefully there'll be some candidates that will be able to give that job a little more attention than I've been able to do the last couple of years. But anyway, this is where it starts, and it's all goes on up from here. So I'm looking forward to see what happens. Thanks, Jody.
Thanks very much for your service, Tim. It's a hard job. Being a secretary is not easy. And our county secretary is Shirley Burton. I'm going to come back to Shirley later in the meeting so she can talk about the Canadian County Democrat Scholarship. So Shirley, hold that thought. She's got a little bit of work to do at this stage of the meeting. I also want to recognize the chair of the Canadian County Young Democrats, Malik Rajti. And just real quick, Malik asked to join our private Canadian County Democrats group. And he was registered under another party. And I'm like, well, Malik, we'd love to have you, but this is mainly for Democrats. Well, he re-registered, sent me a photo of his voter ID card. And I'm going to ask you in a minute, Malik, to just say a few words. But we're thrilled to have him as the chair of the Canadian County Young Democrats. Since that happened, there was a period of time between January and February where 10 Republican women did the same thing in 12 days. This was shortly after the insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th. And I'd say, well, I learned to be, to open a discussion instead of going, we're Democrats, you can't join. Saying, well, glad you're interested, but here's the situation. And they all said, we've re-registered in Canadian County as Democrats. So Malik, you got things started, and I love that. So please just introduce yourself and say a few words.
Yes, my name is Malik Rashdi. I am from El Reno, Oklahoma. I started Canadian County Young Democrats with the Vice President of Canadian County Young Democrats, Brendan, and we are excited for the opportunity to grow the young lives here in Canadian County. And also, hi, Mrs. Rain, you're my college professor at Redlands.
We love Young Democrats, and Brennan is also on the credentials team tonight, so we'll give him a chance to see if he has anything he wants to say at the end, because I know that Chantel Corey, our credentials chair, is anxious for me to go to the next step. So let me go share my screen, see what I'm supposed to be doing. All right, well, we reviewed the precinct roles. Now it's time for the precinct breakout session. And where elections are, as we've talked about, if possible, and there's more than one person in your precinct here tonight, you have the opportunity to elect a chair, vice chair, and a secretary, not a committee person. That just the first three. And I'm going to ask Chantel to step up and explain the breakout room rules. So hang on just a second.
Hi there, Jody. Can you see me?
You want to explain the breakout rules?
Yeah, I'm going to try. Can you hear me on the meeting? Can you all hear me in the meeting? Okay, so what we're going to do, for those of you, if you look at your own name in the meeting, you'll see that we've renamed each of you with a 3-digit code in front of your name. That is your precinct number. For those of you where we have more than one person in the precinct, we're going to be sending you into a breakout room so that just you and the other people in your precinct can perform the elections. If you are the only person here from your precinct, we're going to keep you in the main room and you'll be electing yourself however you like. So the next step, I'm going to hit send on a link in the chat. And to begin with, that is the link you will take to click on and record the election results for your precinct. So one person from your precinct will go into there and specify who you've elected chair, vice chair, and/or secretary. The next step for those of you where there's more than one person in your precinct, I'm about to hit a button. It's going to send you into another Zoom meeting with just the people in your precinct. Now, coming in behind that, and please bear with me, I'm going to attempt to pop into each of those breakout rooms and paste this link in there for you. Your job when you're in the precinct room is to discuss amongst yourselves who will be chair, vice chair, and secretary, then follow the link and record your results. This shouldn't take long, probably about 5 minutes. We'll probably have more challenges technically than that. When you're done, there's a button at the bottom of your screen. When you move your mouse, you'll be able to leave your breakout room and return to this main meeting room. Please don't leave the meeting, just leave the breakout room. Okay, I believe it's a blue button, but I'm not going to make promises there. But please, please, please do not leave the full meeting when you come back from your breakout room. Okay. So here we go. So I have already put the link in the chat for everyone who's going to stay in the room. I'm about to send you guys to your breakout room. So here we go. Oh, did you not grab your? Okay, so for those of you who are in the main room, if you're still in the main room, it means you're the only person from your precinct. Please click on the link in the chat, the one that ends with PO election form, and fill in the officer that you would like to be. Hopefully you all want to be chair since you're the only ones here. For those who went to the breakout rooms, we will be visiting them and putting the links there.
Hey there, I'm the only one in 226, but unfortunately I'm not able to be a chairperson per job. I was just, mainly here to vote. So I guess I'll just be here to observe the process.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
also,
fine, Ashley, you're fine.
okay. I'm also still registered Republican. Actually did just switch my thing over tonight using the voter portal. I've always voted Rhino. It just makes more sense here. But,
Well, that's
so
awesome. Guys, let's give Ashley a hand. That's super. Thanks for joining us. This
Hey,
is
Jody.
Sorry, hold on, let me make sure.
so Ashley, I'm going to make a note, and you're very welcome. And just like we were talking about later, once you get officially re-registered, get your card carrying Democrat status, I feel sure we'll have a spot to plug you into. And I think I saw you're in precinct 226. So we're glad to have you on the team and glad to have you here tonight.
Hey,
And
Jody.
that makes you the 11th person in about 14 days
Hey,
to,
hey, Jody. Jody,
yes.
these people that are writing their names down as precinct chairs or whatever they get elected to, if they would use the name that they have on their voter ID card, that will save a lot of time at the state party trying to verify those folks so they can move on to the county convention. That makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Because if I signed up as Tim O'Connor and they ran that through to find out whether I was a registered Democrat, well, I would show up as not registered. So it just makes it a little easy process at the state level to verify and certify lists of things. That it would help me out tremendously, I guess, if I'm being honest. But
Jody, in the chat, the link to fill out that Google form is no longer there.
Huh, okay. Let me see. I bet I can repeat that. And Tim O'Connor, I just broadcast a message to all of the breakout rooms to let them know to use their legal name. So let's see. I wonder what happens to that. I have to admit, I use Zoom a lot, but it's still a mystery to me. So I'm putting that chat up there, the link up there to put in your election results. And those of you that are still in the main room, that means you won your precinct election. Congratulations. Now, and we talked earlier, Dennis brought this up, but say, for example, that that your spouse couldn't make it tonight, or your neighbor, you know, they're in the same precinct and they're willing to run because they said they would. This is when you could nominate them for one of the vacant precinct officers. If say you're going to be the chair, but you know your spouse is willing to be the vice chair or the secretary, or vice versa. Someone has to be there from the precinct, like Dennis said, to open the meeting, but you can fill in willing participants. And in Canadian County, we have 150 precinct offices, 50 precincts, 3 offices in each precinct. So it's always a challenge to get our percentages up and have as many people as possible. So any rate, can you all see that it says record election results for your precinct here? Someone said that it had disappeared, so I put it back up. Can you
I
see
still
it?
see it, or I see it where you put it back up.
Okay.
But I think Brennan's going to fill it out.
Okay, awesome. So I have a top secret legal name that I always put on the form. So I know what Tim O'Connor's talking about. So I'm going to mute myself for just a second. I'll be right back. So those of you that are the only people in the room, be sure to fill out your, it says PO election form. So put your election results there because you're the winner in your room. And a few of our credentials officers are still in the big room because they're helping others. But if you're the only one here, then go ahead and fill out that form and submit it.
Yeah, a reminder for everyone who's still in the main room, please click on the PO election form link to fill out and assign yourself to a precinct officer role. We've got about a dozen of you who have completed this. So please, we've only got 2 or 3 more minutes to finish this up. So if you have any questions, reach out, type in the chat box, we're watching for you, or we will help you however we can.
Uh-oh, I just went out without my mask. Ugh. All right, y'all. Everything is going pretty well. We have people in the breakout rooms that have to conduct elections or in the process of doing that. I'm going to put up some additional information about voting. You know, with a special election, they happen pretty fast. And again, our election in Senate District 22, if you're able to vote in that race, you have to apply for an absentee ballot every year. And some people don't know that. We used to get reminder letters from Canadian County Election Board. You just check a box, sign it, and your ballots would come. So many more people are voting by mail, they can't afford to do that anymore. Looks like all the breakout rooms are going to close in about a minute. So they're finishing their business up. And so if you're voting in Senate District 22 and you want to vote by mail, I put some information up about how you can go and get your absentee ballot. I really encourage you to do that now, because they didn't get any more staff at the election board to process absentee ballots. And Shirley Burton, our delegate or our representative on the board, has already been going for weeks to count those absentee ballots. A lot of people wait till the last minute, and then that means they have to turn them in at the last minute. We don't want to see a single Democrat vote go uncounted. So in the chat right now talks about going ahead and getting your absentee ballot if you want to vote by mail in the April 6th election, and how to go sign up. If you're already registered, you can do it online in 5 minutes. You enter your first and last name and your birth date. It takes you to a really cool portal, Oklahoma voter portal, where you can apply for your absentee ballot. You can see what your precinct number is. You can see what elections you have coming up. You can track if your absentee ballot has been received, although sometimes there's some delays in that reporting. So don't get too upset if you've mailed it in and it doesn't show received yet. There's all kinds of cool things that you can do there. You can even change some of your voter registration information, like possibly your address in the same county. So the link is there for the Oklahoma voter portal, where you can look for the absentee ballot button if you want to vote by mail. Of course, lots of people like to vote in person, so there's nothing wrong with that. But we're trying to get the word out that you have to sign up every year, because there's so many new people voting by mail due to the pandemic. and also that you must get your ballots notarized. So notaries, if you're a notary, raise your hand. If you're able, Shirley's a notary, but because of her election board relationship, she doesn't notarize. But the other notaries, raise your hand if you're a notary out there. Some of you aren't in the room. I know that Peggy Archibald is, Sarah Carnes is, Anita Rucker is, my husband, Tim Wagner is. We have about 7 or 8, April Scott, people that are able to notarize your ballot if you want to vote by mail. And before the primary, we had a drive-through ballot notarization project at the library and Dale Robertson Center in Yukon, and we notarized 23 ballots. So any rate, however you want to vote, just make sure you vote. If you vote by mail, vote early. If you have any questions, call me. I'll put my phone number and my email up there. I can arrange to get it notarized, and I can help you with any questions. So, all righty. There we go. Okay. Well, they haven't officially told me that they're all done with the balloting process, the voting process. So we'll give them a little more time. I think I'll do another commercial. Some of you know that Canadian County Democrats did school supply giveaways for about 15 years. And we became aware that there were big churches and well-funded sources doing a better job. So after 15 years, we retired that project that we did through the food bank in El Reno to pass out school supplies to around 100 kids, sometimes more. And we had a speaker around that time who talked to us about the need for feminine hygiene products, Tampax and pads. So we started collecting those donations and giving them to the food banks in Canadian County through other organizations that help people who can benefit by those donations. And so I want to remind everybody that we do that. Some of you, I should have taken a picture of it. There's an old red wagon on my porch, and that is the connection for whether you're picking up postcards to write notes for Molly Uten, or we had around 100 masks like these that were donated by Stephen Vincent and with Democratic emblems on them. And they were made by his Republican neighbor. We do have a lot of friends on both sides of the aisle. So we took donations for those in the fall. So we use that red wagon as a meeting point. So, gosh, if you have a chance to come by there, that's often where we have things for people to pick up and leave at their convenience. So, and if you would like to donate for our feminine hygiene products project, we collect items until we have enough to do about 4 drop-offs, and then we do it. And they're extremely popular with people that need a little extra help. So the school supplies that we had left that we donated to those same organizations the last year that we did it. So, I wonder, just out of curiosity, what happens to people that are in the breakout rooms if they can see stuff in the chat when they come back. So I'm running out of material, but I do have at least one more post about voter registration.
Maybe Brent will sing for you. Brent and Tim can sing for us.
I would love that. Yeah, we need some new blood for the Bean Supper Band. We've always pursued Brent relentlessly, feeling like our musical IQ would go up. So I see there's guitars on the wall, and I know there's not a guitar too far from where Tim O'Connor is.
Okay, Jody, everybody back from the breakout room. So if you want to proceed, I know we're running about 15 minutes behind, and I guess Molly either came and left or was not able to stay. But the next step, I think, is recording what we just did, isn't it?
Yes, I think it is. And Bobby, keep an eye out in case Molly is probably also in her precinct meeting. So, you know, maybe our time will work out where she's able to join us. So watch and keep an eye on the waiting room where everybody enters. So, all right. I'm now sharing my screen because it's time for the precinct officer readout. So Chantel, would you like to read out the information that we have?
Yep, and if it's okay with you, I'm actually going to share my screen so that everybody, if it's possible, so I can share so everybody can see who was elected where. And if we missed anybody, please, please, please type it in the chat so that we can correct anything that I haven't got in this brief time period, okay? And so let me get a share on here. I think that will be the right thing. Okay, can everybody see this little spreadsheet?
Yes.
So we will
Yes.
start up at the top. So in precinct 100, we have Malik as the chair. In precinct 124, I have two. I got Fred. I got you twice as the chair. He was really serious about being chair in 124. 200, I have Jenny Slate as the chair. 204, Brennan Bratcher is the chair, and Brent Wilcox in the secretary. 206, Dennis as chair and Cassie as vice chair. 208, we have Peggy as precinct chair and Brandy as our secretary. 210, Mark as chair and Lori as vice chair. 220, Tim O'Connor as chair. 223, I elected myself as chair. 225, we have Brett Jones as chair and Dorinda as vice chair. 227, I'm guessing that's Sarah Carnes as the chair, Mike Shelton as our vice chair, Cherry Rain as secretary, and Bobby as committee person. 504, we have Joanne Gross as the chair. 506, Mike Fuller as chair and Cheryl Fuller as vice chair. And I have a 226 down here out of order with Ashley, which we will chat offline about that. So Ashley.
We'll get back to Ashley.
Yeah. So if please let me know if I missed you. Again, please type it in the chat before we leave the meeting tonight so that we can get that corrected. Whoops. Nope, don't leave the meeting. So I will give it back to you there.
Let's give Chantel a big hand. This is a huge job. The cheering are her credentials team. I just couldn't be any prouder, y'all. That, you know, we cried tears at the run through, and Chantel and I stayed up late at night thinking about every angle of the process you just witnessed. And I'm really proud of y'all. I just, you know, it could have been, there's always a few glitches, and I'm sure it's something we might do differently when we approach the county meeting. But this is a long night in the making, and they made it look really easy. So thank you to everybody that's here. So let's see, I guess I'll share again. So we just heard the readout and the report of the credentials committee. So now Our third chair for the evening is the resolutions chair, Mike Fuller. And he's a very resolute guy, that's for sure. So I'm going to warn you, Mike, I'm getting ready to stop sharing. Oh, wait, I guess we have a couple of slides. Okay. Mike, do you want to talk about your slides?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, yes, I suppose I could and should. So basically, resolutions, as we all know, are basically the basis of our platform. Every convention has a resolutions committee, and I basically am the resolutions committee. But I wanted to let everybody know that, I'm open to having some other members. I would like to have other members. Resolutions form the basis for our platform, the things we believe in and the things we don't believe in. And I read through it just a day or two ago, and it's very good. I like it, but there's always seems to be some desire to change things from time to time, which is good. It evolves as time goes on. So if anyone has a resolution they would like to submit, the easiest way to do that is just contact me, and we'll get together and we'll write it up in a specific form, because you can't just, scribble something down on a piece of paper. It's got to be in a certain form. And I'll work with you to try to, or if anyone that has a resolution they want to submit, we will take these resolutions into the committee and submit them at our county convention on April 3rd. So there's a deadline. Basically, if anyone has something they want to submit as a resolution, it needs to be done by March 31st. Also, I should say you have to be a registered Democrat to submit a resolution. We won't take them from any independents or Republicans. So what else? I guess that's about it, Jody. You're muted.
I think you covered what I just now got to on the slide. So I'm going to go back in case anyone wants to jot down Mike's information, how to call him or email him, find out more, or share your resolutions idea. And we'll consider those at the county convention.
Yeah, my phone number's on there. You can feel free to call me or email me with anything regarding resolution. There's a form in the on the Democrat Party about the guide to writing resolutions, and I'll go through it if we get any, and we'll put it down in the proper form, and we'll submit it and put it to a vote.
So again, like Mike said, the deadline to submit your resolution is March the 31st, 5 p.m. That gives them a chance to put it together for our meeting. So each of you that were elected tonight are the voting delegates at 2 p.m. at the county convention. And part of our business will be to vote on any of the submitted resolutions. Mike and his committee can come up with their resolutions and include them too. So, let Mike know if you'd like to be a member of that. So announcements again, if for some reason you're not available to come to the county convention, let me know. We're hoping everybody can be there. We're going to try to run, frankly, as smooth a meeting as Chantel and her team did tonight. At that meeting, we will elect a county chair, a vice chair, a secretary, an affirmative action female, affirmative action male, and 13 other delegates. And so we'll be a little different than this meeting, and where anyone is welcome to watch, but we people that weren't elected tonight won't be able to vote. And I was just pulling my list. We'll have 5 officers, including the affirmative action officers elected. And we'll have 9 delegates from the 3rd district and 4 delegates representing the 4th district. We're a split county in Canadian County, and the 4th district is generally the Mustang area. So Mustang will be able to elect 4 people in addition to the officers. who can vote and participate in the district elections. And the rest of the county, pretty much everywhere except Mustang, will be able to elect 9 delegates to vote and participate. The 4th district delegates will go to the 4th district meeting. The 3rd district delegates will go to the 3rd district meeting, and we'll join up together for the state meeting, and everything will be Zooming, y'all. Process may be a little bit different than what we've had tonight. Now,
Jody,
yes.
Just for a little clarification, you don't have to be a delegate to the county convention to be elected to the district, but you won't be able to vote. So that opens it up a little bit.
It does. Thank you, Tim, for that clarification. So if someone who wasn't elected tonight is interested in being a delegate, they can campaign and attend and make speeches, for their candidacy and be elected without being able to vote. Tim's right. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Now, we were also going to have an announcement from Shirley Burton. So let me back out and get done with my slides. So I'm warning you, Shirley, you're next. And Brendan, you're right after that. So we're going to adjourn shortly. And our next meeting will be 2 p.m. on April the 3rd. I'm going to stop sharing my screen once and for all and go back to the meeting. So Shirley, would you like to tell us a little bit about the Canadian County Democrat Scholarship, which was named the Robert Bob Burton Scholarship for Shirley's husband, who was a good union member and a great guy about encouraging young Democrats to get active? Shirley, do you want to unmute and talk about the scholarship?
Okay, I unmuted. Okay, thank you, Jody. Yes, we have a scholarship application ready for people who want to apply. You don't have to be in high school or in college age. You can be any age to apply for this scholarship. Lori Hammonds and Dennis Purifoy and I make up the committee, and the application will be due on the first Friday in May, which is May 7th. And it's $500, and you have to reside in Canadian County, and you have to be a registered Democrat, and you have to be attending or ready to attend and accepted at a state-funded college or technological center like Canadian Valley or Redlands, something like that, a state-funded college or VOTEC. We welcome anyone who would like to apply, and you can get the application at our website. Thank you. I can't think of anything else to say, but add something if I forgot anything, Jody, or whoever is listening.
Oh, that was excellent, Shirley. The only thing is it's not quite on the website yet, but it will be soon.
Soon, coming to you soon.
Once we recover from precinct elections, we're looking at the possibility of a Google form where people could at least submit the main part of the application in an online process. But there are a few short essays, and we asked to see your voter card. We're just the real suspicious type, but we've had some great young Democrats, as well as Democrats of all ages, win this scholarship. Is it 15 years, 16 years, Shirley, that we've done it? Yeah. So any rate, and of course, if anyone would like to contribute towards the $500, we certainly accept that. And we're thankful many of you tonight have donated. We're not able to pass the hat tonight or at any meetings in the last year, but your contributions keep us going. And we felt like it's a worthy cause. And basically, we write a check and we send it to the bursar at the college with the student's ID number, and it's available then for the student to use for any purposes. So now I'm going to give Brennan a heads up because he is the vice chair. There's one last thing in the chat box about the deadline to register to vote. Maybe there's a new voter in your family or someone you know wants to re-register. We love that. And maybe they live in Central Yukon or Piedmont, which has 100% participation tonight. 100% of the precincts in Piedmont elected officers tonight. So I'm pretty happy about that. We need to be represented in Piedmont. So thank you, Mike Fuller and Jody Gross for being here and being elected. But what if you know somebody that needs to register or re-register to vote? What is the deadline if they want to vote for Molly Uten? Your form has to be received in the door at the Canadian County Election Board and postmarked by Friday, March 12th. That's not very far away. Oh my gosh, today's the 11th, tomorrow's the 12th. You better run it over there. You can download the form. You pick the Democratic Party, of course. You sign the form and you can mail it, but I wouldn't do that with it being that close. If you know somebody that needs to deliver their forms so they can vote for Molly, I can't do it for you, or I would. Each person has to take their own form during business hours, 200 South Bickford Avenue in El Reno. The link is there to download the form. Even if you don't need it tonight, you might want to drag your cursor, copy and paste that information, because tonight, each one of you that was elected as a precinct officer is now an official. And we know registering voters and helping with absentee ballots is part of what you want to do to elect Democrats and strengthen our party. So you might want to grab that information. The phone number is the election board in El Reno, and they're always very helpful. So now, Brennan, we're at the close of our meeting. So why don't you take us home? I know you're a member of Molly Uten's campaign staff. On behalf of the Young Democrats and Molly Uten's staff, now I'm assuming that Molly got caught up in her own meeting. She hasn't joined us, right? Because you just never know what might happen in a precinct meeting. So I asked Brennan if he would serve as a surrogate for Molly because he's such a loyal member of her campaign team. Molly didn't make it, right? And we understand she probably is voting in her own meeting. So, all right, Brennan, unmute yourself and stand in for Molly as well as the Young Democrats to close our meeting.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, hi, I'm Brennan. You're talking about the speech that I wrote, right? Because I could barely hear you. Okay.
Yes, your Molly speech.
Okay. So it says, hello, everyone. I first want to start off with thanking you all for being here and introducing myself. My name is Brennan Bratcher, and I'm the Vice President of the Young Democrats of Canadian County. It's been a pleasure to see all of your passionate, smiling faces this evening. Hopefully, we'll be able to hold these types of meetings in person instead of Zoom sometime soon. I want you all to pat yourselves on the back for believing in change, and furthermore, for being here and being the change. Change starts right here with us. We all want the Democratic Party to grow, and we all want to get the vote out, and this right here is how you do it. This is how we are going to get Democrats elected in office. Right here in Senate District 22, we have a special election coming up on April 6th. Molly Uten, who I absolutely adore, is running for the seat. She is the perfect candidate to send to the Senate here in Oklahoma. Molly's education platform consists of arts integration, public education, competitive teacher pay, and after-school programs. There is nothing more important than fully funding our children's futures, because there is no such thing as someone else's children. Molly plans to prioritize public education and fight for teachers to have the resources they need to do their jobs. Moving on from education, access to healthcare is up on the list. Working Oklahomans have suffered far too long without adequate and affordable access to healthcare, including mental health and multidisciplinary therapy services. Passing Medicaid expansion at the ballot was a good first step, but Molly knows that there is still work to do in protecting and expanding the right to healthcare here in Oklahoma for all of us. Molly understands what it's like to wade through a confusing and overwhelming system of healthcare services. As a healthcare provider herself, she walks through these struggles with patients and their families every day. As the sister of a person with a chronic illness, she has faced tough decisions, scary moments, and the weight of constant worry. Access to healthcare is a human right, not a privilege, and Molly would put her whole heart behind making that statement a reality. As a member of the LGBTQIA community, I want someone in our Senate that is going to fight for me and my friends. Molly fully affirms and supports the LGBTQIA+ community. She wants to ban the gay panic defense. I had no idea what this was until I read her platform. It is perfectly legal in our state to kill or harm someone for being LGBTQ and argue in court that you panicked. It has been done before. Molly also wants to create equal access to adoption and end housing, employment, and services discrimination in our state. These are just a few of the reasons I am supporting Molly Uten and why I have been door knocking every weekend for her. Above all, Molly wants to restore decency in politics. If you want to see the rest of her platform and plans, or you want to volunteer, head to our website at www.mollyuten.com. Thank you all for your time, and thank you for listening to me. I cannot wait to get to work with you all, and I am excited for the future of the Democratic Party here in Canadian County.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brennan. I know Molly would be proud of you, and we are too. And we want to keep electing Democrats and strengthening the party at the top of our list. And we're so glad that that we have a Young Democrats organization in Canadian County with you and Malik at the head of it. And for those of you tonight who are able to come Saturday at 9:45 or Sunday at noon, just even for an hour and a half, you can help us knock out 30 more doors for Molly Uten, and the Young Democrats will be there. I asked Brennan and Malik for more walkers because we have quite a few drivers, people that are going to read the map and find the locations. And we're going to have the Young Democrats here. We don't want to be embarrassed by not having a good turnout of drivers as well. So please make it a commitment. You can finish up in an hour and a half, or you can do two small neighborhoods right here in Yukon and streets that you're probably very familiar with. I know Shirley's done that, and Chantel and Sarah and Brandy and Brennan. I don't want to, and Tim O'Connor, bringing Bob Bearden with him. If you haven't done that, and Chantel, of course, Chantel's our trainer and helps people learn to use the minivan on their phones. If you haven't done this and you're worried about it or you're not sure, we'll definitely help you. And basically, you're just talking to your neighbors and telling them why, just like Brennan did, in a quick message at the door, why they should vote for her. The odds are that they may have seen a mailer or had a phone call already. There are also, if you're not ready to get out yet for COVID-19 or whatever reason, we also will be doing phone banking, official phone banking on March the 15th and the 25th. So there'll be information in email and in social media. And one last commercial, Canadian County has a new email platform called MailChimp. It's a way to manage our email and keep Jody out of Cox jail, where I spent a lot of time over the holidays and the first part of the year because I emailed too many people. So MailChimp is free. It has a little bit more of a newsletter format. And when you open your email, there'll be a little logo for Canadian County, red and blue. And it's a quick way to scan 3 or 4 items rather than getting quite so many emails from me. So I emailed earlier this week with 4 or 5 things that I put in the chat. And you can look for that, fewer emails and more concise information in this new platform. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We're going to finish in less than an hour and a half, which is a little longer than we thought. But again, thank you for being here. Congratulations on your election. Any other comments for the good of the organization? Anything I forgot? Chantel or Credentials Committee, resolutions.
Thank you, Jody. Appreciate it.
We're all good.
Well, you didn't miss anything. Well, that was probably one of my better speeches, but you know what? You heard it all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the volunteers, the Credentials Committee, Resolutions Chair, and all of our honored guests. See you on April the 3rd at 2 p.m. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jody.